What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be discussing this man named Edward Kelley. Now, many of you may not know who this man is, but he was one of the thousands of people who were involved with the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol back in 2021. And he, like all the others, were pardoned by Trump, but now he enters into a small minority of people who will now be sentenced to life in prison. Why, you may ask? Well, that's because the reason Edward is going to jail for the rest of his life is because he plotted to murder federal employees, more specifically the cops and FBI agents that had him investigated. Edwards is a 36-year-old former Marine who was discharged in 2015 with a deployment to Iraq and Afghanistan. He participated in the January 6th insurrection as stated earlier, and he was caught on video assaulting an officer and smashing a window. He was among the first to enter the building via a broken Senate wing window. Edward was arrested in May of 2022 for the charges in which he is now about to serve a life sentence for. Those charges were conspiracy to murder federal employees, solicitation to commit violent crime, and influencing federal officials by threat. The charges that I just read to all stem from a plot that was formed while he was out on bail for his Capitol-related case. He planned to bomb the Knoxville FBI field office and assassinate law enforcement agents using car bombs and drone-attached incendiaries. He even compiled a kill list of 36 officers. He was pardoned by Trump in January 2025, but only for his January 6 convictions. The judge ruled this pardon did not cover the separate later murder plot charges in Tennessee, which were unrelated in time and location. However, Edward seemed to think that was the case, so I want you to check out this video with Edward not really knowing how all of this really works.
Dear President Donald Trump, my name is Edward Kelley, and I'm one of the patriots that was and is being persecuted and railroaded through the court system. I am one of the over 1,500 patriots that you pardoned for the events on January 6, 2021, and am currently awaiting sentencing for charges of conspiracy to kill FBI agents in the Eastern District of Tennessee. I am requesting your immediate intervention in my case here in Tennessee because it seems that the court has not fully honored your pardon. My conspiracy case here in Tennessee is, in the court's own words in the trial brief, necessarily and inexplicably intertwined with my January 6 case, yet they are holding on to my wrongful conviction. In addition, the court has dismissed and ignored blatant law enforcement misconduct going all the way through this process from my arrest to conviction. They want my blood at any cost of jurisprudence and due process. It's going to take no less than the power of the president to undo this travesty of justice against me. All of the motions filed on my behalf by my lawyer, Mark Brown, prior to sentencing have been denied by the judge on my case. I am set to receive life imprisonment on July 2nd, 2025 for a conviction based on law enforcement misconduct, perjured testimony, and gross bias for the government.
After hearing that and seeing that, you can only ask one question. How dumb can you be to think your pardon from one case was going to expand to something completely different? The pardon was only for your actions on January 6th. It doesn't extend to you plotting to bomb an FBI field office and kill federal agents because of how you felt at the time. That's not how any of this works. But hey, this is the so-called high IQ at work. Now, because of what he did, he's going on eternal lockdown. Him doing all of this has now resulted in him being sentenced to life imprisonment. Edward was sentenced on July 2nd, 2025 by U.S. District Judge Thomas Varlin in Knoxville and rejected his request for release during appeals. Prosecutors emphasized his lack of remorse for what he was planning to do. From the prosecutor's perspective, Edward was remorseless and showed no capacity for rehabilitation, viewed the murder plot as a quote patriotic mission, and actively planned via encrypted messages, coordinated reconnaissance, and had full intent to execute lethal plans. On the flip side, Edwards' defense claimed there was minimal actual planning and invoked the First Amendment protection, arguing that the pardon should apply. See, this is what I'm talking about right here. Remember when I did a video on the bastardizing of the First Amendment? And apparently Edwards' defense team did not see it because had they did, they would know the First Amendment would not and could never even remotely apply here. This man planned to bomb a federal building that had federal employees in it. He basically almost pulled a Timothy McVeigh. However, the judge in this case determined the pardon only covered the Capitol charges as the Tennessee plot was separate by years and miles. Edward is among a rare few in January 6th that related defendants to receive a life sentence. His co-defendant, Austin Carter, pleaded guilty and faces sentencing in August 2025. The screenshot you see on your screen now is a timeline rundown of Edward's record dating from January 6th all the way down to July 2nd, with his life sentence being handed to him. The final imagery I wanted to show you was the official United States District Court Eastern District of Tennessee Knoxville statement. To summarize the document, he will have life imprisonment and it will consist of 3 life counts to run concurrently for a net term of life. He will also have 5 years supervised release, special assessment to $300 since they feel the defendant does not have the ability to pay a fine and therefore waive the fine. It also goes on to mention which prison he'll be designated to, and he is to remain in custody of the United States Marshal pending said designation. All in all, Edward Kelley is not the brightest bulb in the shed, and it shows. All he had to do was lay low and not hold any grudges for what he did. Imagine being free for 6 months only for you to have to enter back into the last place you want to be, and this time for the rest of your life because you felt jaded for something that you did. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.